Today I'm going to share with you how I got in shape after baby number 2 only doing home workouts. Now, if you have a baby number 2, you know how difficult it is to get in workouts. I struggled so much figuring out how to get them in, how to balance my time, how to not be interrupted a million times. So I'm going to impart my wisdom today. I'm going to give you my 5 best tips for being more consistent with exercise, for it being a better experience, and for it getting you results faster. And if you stay to the end, I will share a little bit more about the actual weight loss piece of it and what really helped there. Let's go. Now, if you're new here, my name is Rachel. I'm a certified Pilates instructor and occupational therapist, a mom of 2, and I make Pilates and fitness workouts that are science-based on my channel, Rachel Sweat Pilates. So it took me a while to figure this out, but I'm gonna give you now my 5 tips that really helped me be consistent with exercise and that still continue to help me be consistent with exercise now. Now, I feel like my background is important here because it'll really make you realize how difficult it was even for me. I feel like I had every skill set to be able to do this well, and it took a long time for me to figure out how to be consistent with exercise. Now, when I say getting back in shape, what I mean is not just getting back to the weight that you were before, because I know for me, I've been similar weights before and I look completely different. So a goal weight was never the goal for me. It was more about rebuilding that body composition. I can tell this is gonna be a long video. I have so much to share with you. So grab a cup of tea or coffee or put an AirPod in and make your dinner. That's what I always do when I'm watching YouTube videos. I've got a lot that I think can be really helpful for you. So my kids are 7 and 4.5. The first time around, I was very consistent with exercise. I was a weightlifter, so I'd always go to the gym, and I continued to do that after. I always used the weekends since I was working full time, and then I try to get 1 or 2 lifting sessions in during the week. The second time around, I had moved to a new state. I could only do home workouts during the week because my husband worked and I had no family, no friends, couldn't afford a babysitter. Like, home workouts were my only option. And you know how it is, and especially in the first few months, terrible napping, you've got your toddler to deal with, you're being interrupted so much, it's so frustrating that ultimately it took me at least 8 months until I felt like I had a routine and had figured out a few things to help me be consistent. So that's what I'm gonna share with you today. My first tip for how I got back in shape after baby number 2 only doing home workouts was I had to reframe what a workout looks and feels like. This is a fancy way of saying lower your expectations. So with baby number 1 and prior to that, a workout to me was 45 minutes to an hour, going to the gym. I always felt like, okay, I got everything done I wanted to. I felt very challenged. I felt accomplished. With baby number 2, lower your expectations in all ways. So in time, feeling like 10 to 20 minutes is sufficient. That is fine for now. Being okay with being interrupted frequently. I'll talk about how to minimize that a little later. What we're trying to get over here is this mindset of, if I don't have these right conditions, I cannot work out. This is something I love that Alex Hormozi says, is you start when it's hard. Because if you start when it's hard, it's gonna be so much easier later when life gets easier, and it does, right? Look at me now. Do you hear anything? Silence. My kids are at school. I could do things I couldn't do just a few years ago. So once I shifted to, okay, it's all right if it's short. It's okay if you're interrupted often. You still got something in, there's still value there, and you can still have changes in your body happening even with that. This is something I've thought about before. I started when it was easy because I didn't have kids. So once kids came around and I was trying to kind of do what I've always done, it was so hard. So I've wondered about that. I wonder if people who have always been okay with 10, 20-minute workouts do better in this season of life than someone like myself and maybe some of you who always felt like you had to do a big long workout to really get one in. I'd be interested to know your thoughts on that. My tip number 2 is reframing the importance of exercise. Now, I don't mean exercise is important for our health, blah, 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 okay? Not that. What I mean is seeing exercise as equally as important as the other tasks that you have to do. I struggled mentally with the guilt of feeling like my toddler knew that exercise was not as important as the other activities I needed to do. So if he would ask me to play with him while I am trying to exercise, I'd feel way more guilty about that than if I was cooking and he asked me to play and I'd say, no, I'm cooking, I can't do it right now, I'm sorry. So I realized, okay, I was conditioned to believe that exercise is less important than the other things that I need to do. And I was maybe conditioned to believe that my child would know or think that it's less important when it's really not. I guess I always categorize it as self-care or just something that's not completely necessary. And like my little 3-year-old knew that and was like, wow, mom's choosing exercise over me. They don't think that. They see you cooking, they see you doing laundry, they see you working, they see you exercising, and to them, it's all the same. It's just mom doing something. And it benefits them to have you set that example so they can see, how do I weave in exercise into my daily life, right? So what you can learn from that is if my child sees it as equal to all the other activities I do, I need to see it as equally important as well. And if you're looking at this beautiful cup of coffee, it is an espresso, and I put half and half and agave because life is too short to not drink the type of coffee that you want. All right, let's go to tip number 3. I'm gonna sit down because I know you're gonna get bored of me if I sit at the same spot the whole time. Okay, so we're more okay with short workouts. We see that they're just as important as everything else that we do, and we know our child sees that too. Tip number 3 is, how do you minimize disruptions from child number 1 if, let's say, you're trying to work out during nap time? That's what I always chose to do. My number 1 tip is to pour into them before you work out. What does that mean? What that means is you specifically give them a lot of attention and do activities before you exercise. So for me, 11 a.m. was always my second one's nap time. So between the hours of 9 to 10:30, I would try to do some kind of fun activity or go for a walk, go to a park, doing something where you're very present and mindful with them. That's even true for me now with a 4 and 7-year-old. If you know you need to get something done and you don't want to have a lot of interruptions, you need to be very strategic about pouring into them and giving them a lot of attention prior. In the beginning, I would try to go the route of, okay, give him one-on-one attention right after you put the baby down, and then hopefully you get a long nap and then you can work out. But that often just did not happen because you know how they are with naps. They might wake up early and then there goes your workout. So this is my exact schedule. I would try to work out every other day during a nap time. On those days, instead of cleaning and having them play by themselves, I would really engage with them. I would be completely 100% dressed and ready to go, shoes on, workout picked out before I would get my second one down for a nap, so that the second I left that room, I was ready to work out. And before trying to get my second one down for a nap, I would pick an activity like, what is my older one going to do while I'm exercising? I found that exercising in the garage helped a lot because he could be outside, he could play with a lot more, there's a lot more activities you can do. So my activities were things like doing chalk, playing with their cars, making a racetrack with the chalk and then playing in that, playing with kinetic sand. So messy, but it is what it is. They were just designated toys that I would keep in the garage that he would see and play with there. In the summertime, I could be having like a little kiddie pool and he could play with that. I would use screens as they would get older, but what I found is it's better to set them up first, play, and then do a screen if you need to. Because I found, screens are just like anything else. Kids get bored of them, at least mine always do. So for me, it always went better to play first, and then if you need extra time, if you get extra time, do a screen if that's something that you do. And I'd also have a snack prepared as well, so I don't have to stop for a long period of time to get him one. So have them play. He starts to get bored, give him a snack, bored with that or done, and then screen if you need to. Now, in addition to toys, I also invited him and my younger one, when he started to get older, to exercise with me. So I'd have a set of dumbbells, like a kid set of dumbbells, or you get pool dumbbells. And that helped them feel like in the beginning, the first few minutes of exercise, they wanted to do it with me. So I'd let them, and eventually they get bored. To me, that was always a better approach than trying to say, no, leave me alone, go play. Inviting them to do it with you and having them feel a part of it and them deciding this is boring, I don't want to do it, is much better than just the negative experience of being told they can't do something with you. So you have your game plan, you've got your activities, you got your snacks. What do you do for your workout? What I found is doing YouTube workouts helps so much because your child sees that you are doing something. I don't know why there's a difference between you watching something and doing it and then, or you just doing it in your head with dumbbells. But for me, interrupted way less when I would do a YouTube workout. It's so much more efficient. You know you're going to be interrupted, but to be able to pause, do what you need to do, and come back right back to it right away. You don't have to think of, oh, okay, where was I? What should I do next? I'd often find too, if I was interrupted, like I had to go get the baby, I could come back later in the day and finish maybe the last 10 minutes. Can't say I always did that, but it's an option. This is just such a production, isn't it? I feel like I cannot believe I did this. This was my life for many years, and it's not anymore. But yeah, God, that was a lot. Now that's perspective of trying to do it during nap time. If you have the ability to do morning and night and don't have to do this whole production, good for you. Like, I hope you have that. My husband worked and was gone from 6 to 6. And my kids woke up so early that I never felt like I could do it during other times, nap time, even though it was frustrating at times. That always is what worked best for me. Here's another thing to consider with having that older child be there with you working out is this is an opportunity for you to teach them to be a little bit more self-sufficient, to place a little age-appropriate demand on them to get something for themselves, to kind of figure it out themselves. I'm someone who would go to the doctor and fill out those development forms. And it's like, can your kid do this, this, this? And I'm like, oh, I've never asked. Like, I do it all. So a little something to consider that could be good developmentally for the older one. If anyone has any resources for building self-sufficiency in children, toddlers, age appropriately, please drop it below because I'm sure we all could use it. And also for activities. So if you have any good pages that you follow that are good for activities for kids, toddlers, please drop them below. I think that could really help a lot of us here. So we have our mindset right. We have a plan and we have our toddler taken care of. What specifically, like what kind of exercise did I do to get in shape? Well, I'll tell you what. Unfortunately, I was not someone that did YouTube workouts yet. If I were to start all over again, I would be someone who did a challenge because challenges are such a great way to know exactly what to do, whether that is a Pilates challenge, strength challenge, like whatever kind of exercise that you like. You probably know I make challenges, and the comments that I've seen from people being like, wow, this is the first time I've ever been consistent in my life with something. It's really shown me the value of knowing exactly what you need to do that day. There's so much decision fatigue that can come with so many elements of just working out every day, right? Like, what time are you going to work out? How are you going to deal with all this stuff with the kids? What exercise are you going to do once you are ready to work out? So a challenge eliminates that decision fatigue. And hopefully, if it's built by someone who has training, should progressively challenge you. So how do you know if you're going to continue to get stronger if you're just doing random workouts on YouTube? Have someone else do that. Have someone like me, a mom who has time alone and can make a workout for you and who has done a lot of training. Let me do that for you. I would say in the beginning, start with a challenge that's kind of small, like shorter workouts. Like I have a few on my page. I could tag it up here. Not only will you get rid of that decision fatigue of what to do, it should also be programmed in a way to help strengthen you. So starting off a little bit more beginner and then advancing as time goes on. That's going to give you better results than if you're just doing random workouts on YouTube or trying to figure out your own random workout like I always did. To me, I really think that would have helped a lot with me being consistent. One other element with exercise that was difficult was getting in cardio. So I found that YouTube has a ton of cardio workouts. I have started making them myself. I wish I had used that back then, but now I know. And there's also ways at home that you can add cardio in. I got a jump rope at that time, so that really helped me to have an active rest. So I do a set of an exercise and then I do jump rope and I just repeat that. I'd use my stairs, like my house stairs, just going up and down for maybe 20 minutes. I would do driveway sprints. So I would just go back and forth or do a shuttle run like you did when you were in gym class of hitting one point, coming back, hitting another point, coming back. Can't leave my house. I've got my kids sleeping. So that's what I could do for cardio. But I think what's most important to know is you can do it all on your TV. You can do it all from home. And if you don't have a driveway or stairs, you still can get great cardio in at home. Now, what I did the second time around that I did not do the first time around is I added Pilates. And this is where I truly cannot believe what a difference it made in my abs. Pilates has so much ab work. I got into Pilates because I was deciding to switch over from occupational therapy to a Pilates instructor and primarily do that as my job. So I started adding so much more Pilates at home into my workout. And truly, it made such a difference in the way that I looked. Like, yes, I could be the same weights kind of that I was before, but my abs really looked different. I could definitely tell I had a lot more muscle there. Not only that, I had to go to pelvic floor therapy for my first child. And with my second one, all that ab work and the different kind of breathing exercises, I didn't have to go the second time around. I definitely could see a difference in how it helped minimize my symptoms of bladder prolapse. So I'd say for your workouts in themselves, try to find a challenge if you can, if you feel like that's something that you would enjoy doing. Try to add some Pilates in there, especially if you've never done it before. And take advantage of what is free on YouTube here. Like, I am a mom who has the time now to make workouts for you, other moms. And I know how much you appreciate it. And I know how much I appreciate it if I do a workout on YouTube. That brings me to tip number 5, which is to do full body workouts and core work. I was a weightlifter, so I did split days. So I do chest day, back day, leg day over here. What I found is that when I would continue to try to do that, and if I'd only get 1 or 2 workouts in that week, I'm like, okay, I worked 2 or 3 muscle groups and like that's it. So with the full body workouts, I was able, even if I got 2 or 3 workouts in, I was able to hit all the muscle groups in the week. And I learned to do this because of Pilates. Pilates is inherently, like, it's set up to be a full body workout. And if you know you can't be really consistent with exercise every day, full body is the way to go. And last I said, I would talk a little bit about the weight loss part of it. You know, we've really covered how to be consistent with exercise and the little tips and tricks that I did. That to me is how you rebuild your body. So building that body composition, like gaining that muscle back that you lost during pregnancy, if you did, and postpartum. For me, getting that exercise routine up and going was more important because it's so much better for your mental health. It has such a better impact on your mental health than if I were to try to lose weight just through diet and then be like irritated and hangry. For both babies, I never tried to actually lose weight until they were sleeping through the night. There's such a link with sleep and being able to lose weight, sleep, and your mental health. So with my second one, it was when he was 6 months old. I did a sleep training program and he was sleeping through the night. My mental health was just doing so well. Every night I was getting a full night's sleep, and then stress of that time and the 6 months prior that had been so stressful to me, having moved across country, no family, 2 mortgages, husband has a new job, like had a new baby. At that beginning of that time just felt like the lowest of the low for me. And I'm sure so many of you have similar stories like that. So the importance of having something like an outlet that gives me endorphins, I needed that desperately. Now, yes, I did. You know, when I did try to actively lose weight, I tried to do intuitive eating and to just go to bed a little hungry. If you want a little bit more details about that, I can make a second video about that. I don't talk much about food on here, but you know, I had an eating disorder. I went to therapy for it, and I am someone who lives a life where no food is off limits. I have everything in my house. I'm not one of those non-toxic people. I do better when everything is around and I can have it whenever I want it. And the reality is, when you live like that, you eat small portions of things because there's no scarcity. You know you can have it the next day. So I continued to live like that, even though I was trying to lose weight, and I would just try to go to bed a little hungry, and that helped me. There was no rush for me. I was okay with having it take time, right? It's not about losing weight. It's about, if you want to lose fat and change your body composition, it's going to take time. So overall, it was trying to go to bed a little hungry, still eating intuitively, drinking less wine. I love to drink wine when I cook, and feeling neutral about the way that I looked. So body neutrality, that's a term I had heard around that time. So it's not that you need to love every part of yourself. It's more of becoming more neutral about it, or being less averse to some things that you might not like about yourself. Bodybuilding actually taught me that as well, because There's no reasons to get emotional about fat or muscle. Like you can build it and you can lose it. Learning to manage my stress during that time was huge. I obviously had so much stress. And going back to what I had used when I was going through my eating disorder therapy was to do hypnotherapy. So I would do a YouTube hypnotherapy meditation that would help my body find like deep calm, deep rest, and help me reset. What also helped with my stress reduction during that time was honestly unfollowing a lot of the Instagram motherhood pages, because I don't know, for me it made me so stressed about doing everything wrong with my first one that by the time the second one came and I was so stressed about everything else in life, I just felt like there's too many cooks in the kitchen. I am questioning myself, doubting myself so much. And even though these little phrases of what to say this instead of that are supposed to help, I could tell for myself it was causing a lot of anxiety. So just another little sidebar. Because if you are a mom, I know you get so many opinions. Just take it all with a grain of salt and maybe filter out some things that you think might actually be adding to your stress. So now we've gone over my 5 tips. Reframing how exercise looks and feels. Reframing exercise so you see it just like your child sees it. It's just another important thing that mom has to do. Getting more strategic about setting yourself up for success on the days that you do work out. Trying to pick a challenge or something like a YouTube workout where you can progressively challenge yourself, and trying some full body workouts and Pilates workouts to help you hit all those muscle groups and to work on your core postpartum. If there's anything I want you to take away from this video, is that this time is so hard. So hard. How many years past it? And it's still like, oh, it's the hardest time in my life. I was one of the first of my friends to have kids, so I never got to talk to an older mom, more experienced mom who could say, hey, it gets so much easier. I knew it was gonna get easier, but you know, you just can't really visualize it. I think one of the most valuable things that motherhood has taught me is when you are faced with a difficult situation, that you know it's not always gonna be like this. I know that so much more now than I knew that before I had kids. What I hope you take away from this video is just real kind of tangible tips that you can bring into your everyday life to make fitting in exercise easier, to get a little validation that it is really challenging to try to fit in exercise with kids, and to really like feel how this is such a temporary stage in your life, and just the dig deep buttons that you're building now, the frustration tolerance, the coping skills, that's gonna help you so much later on in life. It is not always gonna be like this. It is going to get easier. When people say, how can you do a YouTube channel when you've got kids and blah, I'm like, I just went through 2 little kids. Like that's nothing. This is nothing. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's frustrating. But if you can do it now, if you can make these habits now, it's only gonna get easier from here. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.